Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Welcome to the VML, sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. We are an 11-week-long Magic the Gathering Arena League showcasing the talents of amazing people of marginalized genders within the Magic community. This is season number 12. We are in the Dirty Dozen now. And my name is Nicole Callahan, bringing you all the action this week with my partner on the other side, is NileJoan. Nile, how are you doing?
Good. Always great to be in the booth with you, Nicole. How are you?
I absolutely love it. I'm doing fantastic. I am so excited to get things kicked off for this penultimate week of round robin play. That's right. We have 16 divisions, each with 8 players, 7 weeks of round robin play. So we're getting down to it. It's week number 6 of 7. After this, it's do or die next week, and then right into the playoffs with our wild card round. So super excited. Cannot wait to get started on all of this action. These players are playing for so much. In addition to cash prizing, top 16 get qualifier weekend badges on Arena, and the top 8 get regional championship invites, and they get to compete in our event, the VML championships, towards the end of this summer. I believe it's going to be in like the late summer, early fall. Top 8 players from season 11, 12, and 13 will duke it out, and the top 2 players from the VML champs will be going to the Pro Tour. So some really awesome stuff on the line. These players are playing for some high stakes magic here, and a big thank you again for Wizards of the Coast for making this possible and for being awesome. Before we really get into it, I want to talk about a little more high stakes magic we have coming up on Sunday. Now, you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, thank you for bringing it up, Nicole. So this Sunday, starting at, I believe, 9 a.m. Pacific time, I am hosting my second Birds of Paradise Standard 1K Open. This is open to anybody. It is a standard tournament. It's all going to take place on Sunday, and it's going to be broadcast to you live from my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/NileJoanRivers. Nicole, you're actually going to be doing some commentary for that with your husband, Jim, right? That's going to be
yes,
very exciting. Very excited to have you guys on. But yeah, it's a tournament. It is also part of a tournament series, sort of like the VML, where participating in this event can earn you points, and that can get you qualified for a annual invitation only champions tournament. So if you like standard, if you like tournaments, check it out. I'll put a link in the chat here in a bit.
Right. And if you're here in the VML, I'm imagining you like both. So
you gotta. Who
right?
wouldn't?
I hope to see you all there. I cannot wait. It's going to be such a blast. I cannot wait to do commentary on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Please.
Okay, hit me. Wow, that was perfect. You only, like, the cherry on top would have been like a quick kid seats, just $5, but it would have been untrue. Kids pay the same as everyone else. So, get in there. It's going to be great. We've got some very fierce competition in there already. So it's going to be really good. I'm real excited for it.
I love it. Clip it. we've got a new promo, and you know what, I'm gonna ride this wave of excitement right into our metagame slide for this week number 6, and we're looking at Temur Analyst sits at the top, followed by Esper Midrange, the deck that just keeps coming back in standard. Boros Convoke, we've got some control, Bant Toxic. I don't see any domain ramp up there, and 4-color Legends has fallen off a little bit as well. Nile, what do you think about this breakdown? Do you think that the results of the regional championships from a couple of weekends back had a big effect on deck submission? What are you seeing here?
Yeah, I think the RC definitely had an impact. I mean, we saw this Gruul aggro deck perform so well at the regional championship. And I mean, ever since standard season started way back in like January, people have been coming for Domain's throat and doing so successfully. And more people are just getting underneath of what Domain is able to do. It's still a very strong deck, still a very viable deck. but it's hard to play it into, mono red aggro, Bant Toxic, Boros Convoke, Gruul aggro, all these lists that are just really hard. I mean, even the 4-color legend deck that you mentioned just eats up domain. So not surprised to see less of that at the top here. The 4-color legends deck, I think, still definitely one of the best, if not the best deck in standard at the moment, but extremely hard to play. Extremely hard to play, and this is significant for the VML, extremely hard to play digitally. You've got a lot of triggers that you have to keep up with. Like, the clock is a real factor, and it's also just very complex. So totally reasonable to not see it as represented, even though I think it is one of the most powerful decks we have.
Decks like that where you're playing against both your opponent and the clock can be really, really tough.
Absolutely.
And the difficulty playing a deck is definitely a deterrent sometimes, as we've seen in the past with decks like KCI and Modern and things like that. So that's definitely an interesting breakdown here. And now we are covering 4 different matches tonight. And of those 8 players, we're seeing 7 different decks. So this speaks definitely to the diversity, as we can see in our cool little pie chart. These are pretty, there's no real one best deck in the format right now.
Yeah, standard is very healthy at the moment. There's a lot of deck diversity. I mean, I know I just said that I think the 4-color legend Slogurk deck is probably the best deck in the format, but even then, like, it has things that get underneath it. It is, again, very, very hard to pilot, which makes it hard to be just like the go-to de facto staple. We see a lot of different things. I mean, and we've seen this week to week for a long time now. Just week after week after week, we are seeing this pie chart here that just has all these different wedges of like pretty similar sizes. I do think it's very interesting that Esper is still so high at the top. It feels like Esper's just been sitting up there for like 3 years now. Like, basically as long as Rafine's been legal, they just keep printing legends, and Esper keeps saying, okay, yeah, I'll play these legends. And they just evolve and adapt with the format. And I mean, it is a deck to be respected. Yeah, absolutely.
Go on in. No, it certainly is. Rafine is one heck of a Magic card. And like you said, I think we will have the pleasure of seeing, actually, we're going to see the Temur Analyst deck later on today. Actually, that's going to be in our first matchup. So why don't we get on into that? We'll check out our first matchup here, and we'll take a look at Zoe's Temur Analyst deck. She is 3-2 right now, out of Division 12, and this looks like a pretty stock list. And to think that this is a combo deck, and it's not the only combo deck in standard, to me is pretty wild. We see how Aftermath Analyst works with Nissa. There's sweepers like Ill-Timed Explosion, card draw with Memory Deluge. What is your general feeling on this deck as a general choice playing in just a standard event?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think it's extremely cool that a deck like this exists in the standard format. This is such a combo deck that's so powerful and feels so consistent. And, it really says a lot about the format that A, this can exist at all, and B, its existence does not just mean it has completely dominated the format and you have to be playing it. So I think that's really great. I think registering it for events, sort of similarly to the Slogurk deck, there are complications with playing it. I don't think it's as complex to pilot necessarily as something like Slogurk, but it is certainly, keeping up with all these triggers is not an insignificant feat. Like, often you are dealing with like 20, 30 triggers at a time. You're just having to sequence things right. It is, by its own right, a fairly complex deck to pilot, and it has its own complications in digital and in paper. But overall, I think it is very powerful. It's got, these combo kills. It's just pretty resilient. It's, I think, a really good deck and a really solid choice.
Yes, I want to give a quick shout out to Zoe's devotion here, because if you look at her photo, I imagine that is her cat, and the deck that she is playing is Temur Analyst in the screenshot. is what it looks like. So I
Yeah,
see
that's great.
Analyst play and a Spelunking, and she is just all about this. So I'm all about this all-in kind of deck, and all in all aspects, including profile picture. So
Absolutely.
let's check out Zoe's opponent. We have Nymph here on the other side of the page playing Golgari Midrange. Now, this was a deck we started to see uh, around the Pro Tour, kind of breaking out. Caustic Bronco making some waves. But do you have, and doesn't look like this version is playing Caustic Bronco. This version looks a little more top heavy, playing things like Karvik the Punisher, Shieldred, Gisa. Any thoughts on this sort of not as lean to the ground Golgari mid range deck?
Yeah, Golgari midrange to me feels like such a like bread and butter, just it kind of feels like it's always pretty good, but rarely is it the best deck in standard. And often that's all you need, especially for events like this, is something that's just, good, consistent, reliable. And I think you really get that out of Golgari mid. I mean, we've got some great additions in this list from OTJ. You've got Karvik, like you mentioned, Hostile Investigator. You've got Geese of the Hellraiser. Um, this deck is able to really do a lot and dictate a lot about how the game is supposed to look in terms of resources and things like that. Now, it is interesting here not seeing the Green Knight that we often see in these Golgari mid lists, but as you said, this one seems to be a little bit more top heavy, wanting to really start its game plan around turn 3. So I'm very, very interested to see how this like crimes discard version of Golgari mid works out.
Yes, and we are about to check out this matchup here. Our first matchup of the evening. We have Zoe on Temur Analyst, and she is our player on the bottom here, and we are seeing we do love you, Phoebe. We love you too. Gameplay is been accelerated for a time, so get comfortable. On the top of your screen, we have Nymph on Golgari mid-range. We're taking a look at openers here. We see Zoe after a minute shipping that one back. What did you think about that 2-land hand?
Yeah, I mean, I think with a list like this, you just really can't get away with those. You're so reliant on your mana and you're so reliant on hitting uh, your cards when you're needing them. I think Zoe was definitely correct to ship that one back.
Love to see it, but happy to keep the 6, shipping back a land, and we are off to the races. As we see, no real early interaction from either player. Double spelunking in the hand of Zoe, triple go for the throat out of a Dirty Nymph's hands. And we see Fires of Victory very quickly taking care of that Karavek. So Nymph really with not much else to do for now.
Yeah, unfortunately, Nymph's hand not lining up very well against what Zoe has kept here. Just not a lot of creatures. I mean, she has now drawn into the Nissa, which you can definitely kill and definitely want to kill, but it's still going to get at least a trigger before you really have a chance to. So, you know, it's good, but not great to be able to take care of it. I'm sure DirtNymph here would rather have been able to play something else on turn 4.
Yes, and we see Nissa coming down. Go for the throat. We'll take care of that Nissa, but like you said, not before a single trigger happens from that landfall, enabling Zoe to play a second spelunking here. A little redundant, but it still works. And Maestro's Theater will fetch up a mountain. And now Zoe has a couple of those, has 3, in fact, of the Capenna lands in the graveyard.
Yeah, and especially with spelunking, very, very important, because these things can come in untapped. We've got already so much ramp accomplished from Zoe. Like we don't have some of the key pieces of the combo per se, but like we do have Memory Deluge, we do have World Soul Rage. It's looking very good, especially since unfortunately for DirtNymph, she has not been able to keep any pressure on the board, has drawn kind of poorly. Um, is not able to really pose any threats.
All right, is going to be able to fire off a duress here. We see Memory Deluge in response, finding a Nissa, and it's a Forest or a Spelunking for the second card.
Yeah, really interesting position here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lands on the field. So it's really 9 when you play the Forest with Nissa, which is almost enough to get to play Nissa and Flashback the Deluge, but not quite.
And we see Restless Cottage here. DirtNymph's real only interaction at the moment, but is going to get in and eat a card from the graveyard. We see Virtue of Strength was quite a draw for Zoe.
Quite a draw indeed. Now, exiling the Deluge from the graveyard, actually really huge, especially as Zoe gets more and more mana, just keeping her from being able to refill easily. And I mean, this Virtue is going to really put DirtNymph under pressure to close this game out, as Zoe can easily run away with it from this point.
Yes, we'll see. It looks like Zoe was deciding whether to cast both sides, and it looks like she will decide to start with the adventure of Garen Brigg Growth. Looking which card to bring back here, though.
Yeah, I definitely like bringing back one of these because it's going to let you get more mana off of your Nissa. It also just, enables a lot of what you're trying to do. Now, DirtNymph is soon going to be happy to have these go for the throats to keep taking care of this Nissa, but as soon as Zoe draws anything, it's going to be a problem because that Virtue tripling all the lands, it's just, she can play anything she draws forever.
Yeah, we see it. DirtNymph getting in once again with the Restless Cottage, and what will get eaten out of the graveyard this time? It looks like the Maestro's Theater will be moved to exile, making another food. So, but that's not a lot of action right now on the battlefield or in DirtNymph's hand.
Yeah, not a lot of action indeed. We are going to get to take care of this Nissa after she gets a single trigger. We do have the Analyst in hand. But we just need like a little, I mean, both players really just need some gas. Now, big differences. DirtNymph has the cottage, which is actually pretty huge given the way things are looking right now. But Zoe obviously has the virtue. So, even a single World Soul Rage can hit for so much right now. I mean, we're looking at 9 lands. So what, that can hit for 25? If I'm doing my math right?
I think so. That's too much math for me to do. So I will just trust you. You could have said any number there and I would agree. So
yeah. Yeah, definitely tough. It looks like DirtNymph's trying to decide here if she wants to kill this Analyst at the moment.
Before going to her turn and needing to kill it before it can block the cottage, perhaps saying I need to end this game pretty soon because Zoe has a lot of big top decks.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good line. I mean, I think you're kind of forced into it, more or less. I mean, there is just more mana available now, which just makes the world still bigger. We are making foods, which can maybe keep us out of it. It's like right now we're effectively at 20. Oh, Doppelgang. This is going to be a huge Doppelgang.
That I don't want to count that either. So let's see.
Let's see. After the 2 that we have to pay, I think there is 37 mana available.
Oh my goodness.
So I think that's going to be X equals 12 if we want to do it for as much as we can.
That's so much.
Yeah, but we don't have to do it for as much as we can is the great thing. Yeah, we can just do it for like a lot instead of, an insane amount. Oh, and getting to copy the Restless Cottage is enormous.
Yeah, so we'll see that is Zoe going to copy a black as well? It looks like just the spill. Oh my gosh, that's so many spelunkings. 10 spelunkies on. Sorry, there's 11 spelunkings on the battlefield right now, but only one of them belongs to DirtNymph. So
Yeah.
we see Anissa being drawn. We're gonna get to the point where there are no more lands left in Zoe's deck, and I believe that time is just about now. And it looks
Wow.
like World Souls Rage.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big one. I mean, surely she's got enough for 8-9.
I like that. I think that Zoe got to the point where she's like, I'm not gonna count.
Yeah.
30.
Yeah, 30 gets over the 29 that DirtNymph is at.
So
Wow.
-1. That was impressive.
Yeah, I mean, that is the thing with the Analyst deck. We're talking about how neither player really had any gas, but with like the Virtue especially in play, any ounce of gas that Zoe gets, she is able to just go all the way with, and that's what we really saw there.
That was definitely impressive showing from the Temur Analyst deck. Now we're moving to sideboards, taking a look at what's happening here. I see a couple of Thruns, some Titan of Industry, no Body Paws, Turn the Earth. We see Pick Your Poison. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a little awkward. I definitely like bringing in the Abrade. I mean, I think there's a situation where if you're Zoe, you don't want to really overboard for this deck because I don't think they're super overloaded with ways to answer or stop what you're doing. So I think just, being able to stop particular sideboard threats is fine, but I mean, you just stick to your game plan, you can still just deal 30 damage out of nowhere.
For sure. And we see, looking at DirtNymph's sideboard here, kind of jumping around, looking at what removal spells she has and what she's interested in taking out. As you can see, so far she has left in the 2 cutdowns and has boarded out 2 cutdowns. Is strictly to kill the Aftermath Analyst, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, killing the Analyst on your terms is good. We also know that there is a Shigeki, which probably you're not killing, but maybe you just happen to line it up where you do. It's it's kind of awkward. I mean, we saw last game where those kill spells were just kind of clogging her hand up for a lot of the time, but you're in this awkward position where it's often less than ideal to handle the Analyst creatures, but you also just kind of have to just to minimize the impact that they're going to have. So you have to strike this perfect balance of, threats and answers, but we really, this game, need to see DirtNymph draw more of her threats and get them to stick to the board.
Absolutely. As we saw, I wonder if with Temur Analyst, because their creatures are few and far between, but they're also incredibly important, if that makes it one of the difficult things to play against a deck like that, because you kind of want your kill spells, but you don't really want your kill spells. You don't always want your kill spells. So it's definitely like an awkward balance there.
Yeah, it's very awkward and, difficult to navigate. I like bringing in the March. I think the March is a really good get here.
Yeah, it looks like some Graveyard Hate, and Unlicensed Person Graveyard Trespasser, and the March of Wretched Sorrow. DirtNymph is happy with her opener, so we're going to get things going as Zoe draws the 3rd copy of Memory Deluge to get things kicked off with only 3 lands in hand, but a Spelunking and a World Souls Rage. So it's kind of scary, honestly, because if Temur Analyst resolves 3 Memory Deluges, that's probably game over, right?
Probably. I mean, the hearse is going to make it's going to make everything much more awkward for Zoe. The graveyards, especially since this was resolved so soon, The graveyard's never really going to be something she can access. I am with a graveyard trespasser to boot. And the hearse is on its own a threat. It is a threat that is stuck to the battlefield. This is where that abrade that Zoe brought in would be great. But yeah, she's just going to get to swing in for some damage.
Yeah, and we see Zoe's looking to maybe erase here, place the Nissa onto the battlefield and says go. We see that DirtNymph does have 2 removal spells in hand in Go for the Throat and March of Wretched Sorrow.
Yeah, I definitely like just playing Go for the Throat on the Nissa here and probably just eating it with the Trespasser. I think you want to hold up your March for either some sort of emergency where you need to maybe pitch a card from your hand with it, or, sometime when you've flooded out and it can just gain you a bunch of life and, make it harder for Zoe to get that World Soul Rage that finishes you off.
So we see Spelunking coming into play. Maestro's Theater going to follow that up. Don't forget, each one of these lands also gains Zoe a life, so that can be big gain here.
Certainly can be. Being able to immediately eat them with the hearse is so good for DirtNymph. She is going to have to start playing around things like Fires of Victory, which we'll see if she does in the coming turns, especially since Zoe does have it in hand. But I mean, we've got threats. They're stuck on the board, and we're doing some serious damage.
We'll see. Aftermath Analyst was the draw for turn here, so no 5th land. Fires of Victory, looking like Zoe might be interested in casting that now.
Yeah, you can cast it. Your options are very awkward. You can hit the Trespasser with it like she's aiming to do right now. You have to discard something. I mean, you've got plenty of cards that are just stuck in your hand anyway. You can get rid of one of these deluges, but you're just going to continue feeding this hearse. But Zoe's just in a really awkward spot now where she just needs to find something to get these things to come together. So I think taking out the Trespasser is definitely the move here. And I mean, DirtNymph's going to be rewarded for having this cut down.
Yes, and it looks like nice cheap removal spell for Aftermath Analyst. Free Strider Lookout is going to trigger here, and Zoe's already at 12 life, so getting down there.
Yeah, getting down there for sure. And, we've got the cottages on board too that we can just swing in with. I mean, I think DirtNymph is in such a good position this game. The threats are here. We've got, things that work off of our sort of all in on the committing crime strategy. I mean, even right now, as the cottage attacks, we get to exile a card from their graveyard, which commits a crime, which means we get another cottage from the top of our deck. And she's really in the driver's seat.
Looking pretty good. Unlicensed Hearse going to eat a little something, a little snack from Zoe's graveyard. Mountain is the draw here, but double Memory Deluge, double World Soul's Rage. Is there anything that can get Zoe out of this?
It's really tough. I mean, this just isn't gonna be enough, I don't think. I mean, you can just swing in with 2 cottages next turn, right? Do we have the mana for that? I think we're 1 off.
Right. I believe it is 4. I think it's 2 green black to activate.
Right. Okay, so we're 2 off.
Close but not quite. It looked like DirtNymph was considering for a second there casting the March on their own creature to prevent the lands from coming into play for Zoe, but eventually just let it happen. So Zoe got an island and a forest back in play. And
oh, yeah, one of our lands is a citadel, so maybe we are just 1 off.
Oh, it is. I see.
3, 4, 1. Yeah, we are. Actually, I think. Do we have the mana? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. No, we're 1 off. We're 1 off. We could technically activate 2. 1 would come in tapped.
Use 1 to activate the other.
Yeah.
Let's see, Restless Cottage getting in. Zoe at 5, about to drop down to 1. DirtNymph at a very comfortable 21 life with a removal spell in hand and 2 foods in play. Unlicensed Hearse for a little graveyard hate, and Zoe's gonna go digging here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Zoe can find that saves her. Fires is definitely part of it, but even then, I just don't see any combination of cards that really saves her in this moment.
We'll see. Is Zoe not going to play out that Riveteer's Outlook? Not to let Unlicensed Hearse eat it, I suppose. Being at 1 and being at 2 is very similar in Zoe's situation.
Yep, and that Riveteer's Outlook represents a damage with Fires of Victory, which could matter.
That Duress was a pretty good draw on DirtNymph's side. Gonna be able to take a little looky-loo here at Zoe's hand, maybe, before attacking.
Oh, yeah, this is great. There's nothing to cast this Fires on yet, so you can just get rid of it, and now you know that you are safe to simply swing in. You've got the hearse.
We see a Restless Cottage knows the coast is clear, so DirtNymph's going to take down game number 2 here in our matchup, and we will be heading to a game number 3 between these two players. Going to take a little re-look at the Temur Analyst sideboard. We see a Fires of Victory, maybe coming out, going in.
Yeah, I think bringing in the second Abrade after you saw the hearse come in is definitely smart. Like VML is obviously open deck list, but that doesn't mean you know how your opponent is planning to sideboard. So I think that was very wise from Zoe's perspective. We'll see here if DirtNymph is wanting to make any changes.
Taking a quick look through, it looks like the third cut down on the draw. And taking a look at Gix's command as well. Having a 4th Free Strider lookout in the sideboard. We saw that card do a little bit of work there in game number 2. This high crime Golgari deck. Cruelty of Gix also in the sideboard.
Yeah, I can Gix's command getting much done in this matchup. Honestly, I'm not super hot on Cruelty of Gix here either. I don't know. I think, just like we saw in game number 2 there, really DirtNymph's main objective is establish threats early and just start racing and winning the race. If you can get some of your sideboard hate pieces, that's also huge. I think this is a situation where she would probably really like to have some of the Mosswood Dread Knights, just like a fairly big body to play on turn 2.
Yeah, it's something that recurs if it dies to an ill-timed explosion.
Yes. Yeah, and looks like we are bringing in a Cruelty of Gix, which, might just be effectively a additional copy of some of our hate pieces. Oh, getting an opening hand with a Duress and a Hearse is very nice.
Especially when Zoe has mulliganed to 6, getting rid of that excess copy of Nissa. So I'm going to start things off, and Zoe does have the Abrade in hand, but we'll see how fast DirtNymph's going to fire off this Duress.
Yeah, I mean, we can play it with the Mirex if we start there.
There's also the single Takanuma Abandoned Mire in hand, and it looks like that's what DirtNymph is going to go for, duressing away that Abrade, saying you're not going to be able to touch my Unlicensed Hearse this time around. Shigeki is going to come on down onto the battlefield, and we have not seen Shigeki yet in this matchup. What are your thoughts on Shigeki's role here?
Shigeki is such a menace and is so annoying to deal with. If I were DirtNymph, I would feel pretty compelled to take it out while the opening is here. You're not going to get a lot of chances. You're not going to get a lot of opportunities. I think I would be pretty eager to get rid of it, but I also think getting this hearse on board, establishing it early makes a lot of sense and is a totally reasonable play. I think I would have liked to have seen maybe holding off on activating it until we saw something, but definitely good just to get stuff out of the yard there. Oh, was that a missed land drop for Zoe?
That is a missed land drop for Zoe. So Shigeki, even more valuable now, is going to be able to activate once, and I'm sure Zoe does not want to see a miss here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shigeki jumping back into Zoe's hand. Gonna take a look at the top four, and oh, that was close. Double Memory Deluge, Aftermath Analyst, and a Mountain on top of the deck. So that's a lot of food for Unlicensed Hearse.
Yes, but unfortunately, still a ways off of being able to do too much.
We see ill-timed explosion, so no fourth land here for Zoe either. Getting a little land starved, and we see triple removal spell in DirtNymph's hand once again with Death Cascade and Demolition Field. A little different than game two. No pressure on the battlefield. How much? Oh, I spoke too soon, as Graveyard Trespasser was DirtNymph's draw for the turn. So that is both a graveyard hate card and some pressure to be put on the battlefield. How important is that?
I think if DirtNymph could have chosen any card to be on top of her deck at that moment, she might have chosen Graveyard Trespasser. I think this is so huge for being able to continue to eat through the graveyard here, uh, get a body that you can start swinging in with, and really put the pressure on Zoe. So I think this was a great get.
All right, Unlicensed Hearse eating a little more from the graveyard. We'll see Cabaret Courtyard, the draw for Zoe. So Zoe will draw her fourth land. We'll see if Nissa will come down before it. How good does this ill-timed explosion look as opposed to a memory deluge? I think if you cast Nissa, what are your feelings on leading with Nissa? Are there plans for an ill-timed explosion next turn? Are you counting on DirtNymph to have a removal spell?
Yeah, I mean, you are going to make a bit of mana here, so you can play the adventure side of virtue like we're seeing here, and because DirtNymph did the hearse on her turn, we're actually able to get a land back, which is huge for Zoe, especially having that second Nissa in hand. Because now, even if you kill this one, you can't stop the next Nissa from getting at least one trigger. And I mean, that's really tough. Like that is something that can definitely put Zoe back in this game.
And we see Free Strider Lookout coming down on the side of DirtNymph to try to put a little more pressure onto the board. DirtNymph deciding about what to do with this Nissa. Graveyard Trespasser could trade with it. If Zoe would be willing to make that trade, which I'm not sure that she would, or use one of the two removal spells in DirtNymph's hand, and that's what's looking like it's going to be the Go for the Throat, triggering that Free Strider Lookout. So a free land. A free land, Sunken Citadel comes into play, and that's a big hearse, a 6/6, and the Trespasser both getting across. So Zoe's going to drop down a 12 here. This ill-timed explosion is going to get cast.
Yeah, ill-timed explosion is going to do so much work right now, just getting rid of these creatures. We don't have a cottage this time. We don't have any other way to crew this hearse. So this is gonna buy. I mean, hopefully for Zoe, this buys at least a couple turns to try and get things set up. DirtNymph is really out of gas. while Zoe has, a Deluge in the yard that's surprisingly not far off of being playable at this point.
Now we see Field of Ruin being drawn and played here on DirtNymph side. Nothing to do besides maybe activate that Mirrex. Unfortunately, nothing else that she can do this turn.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. I mean, after a couple turns of activating the Mirrex, we can crew the hearse again. But that's if those tokens live, and there's a lot of sort of what ifs that have to happen and things have to line up great. We really need to hit some sort of threat as we're watching Zoe just kind of spiral out of control.
Yeah, we see it, Nissa and the draw for turn Spelunking. So a good back-to-back play here. Being able to play Nissa, and like you had said earlier, getting that first trigger on Nissa is such a big deal here.
Yeah, definitely matters quite a bit. It'll enable us to play. It'll enable us to double spell this turn, and it looks like DirtNymph's actually going to let Zoe get both triggers. Doesn't seem like she wants to cast the March just yet. Ooh.
Wow. Titan of Industry is a that's a big boom boom.
That is a big boom boom.
And then we see ill-timed explosion here. So declining, just making it a draw two.
Yeah, I think that was a very smart play from Zoe. She's already got, what she needs to win the late stage of this game. She just needs to get there. She just needs a little more gas. And so she knew that right now, DirtNymph has one card, no creatures on board. That ill-timed explosion's probably not doing a lot as a board wipe anytime soon. Let's just go ahead and fill the hand up while we can, and hopefully make sure we can get to this Titan next turn.
Yeah, we'll see. Are we crewing up? It looks like DirtNymph is crewing up the unlicensed hearse with those tokens and gonna bring Zoe down to 5. Now we know the World Soul's Rage is in Zoe's hand. There's a Titan of Industry, things that can gain life. It'll be interesting to see what happens in this next turn as DirtNymph plays Swamp and says, I'm out, I'm done. Nothing else.
Wow. This was one of the few outs for Zoe, because Zoe was honestly in a very awkward spot right there. No way to play that Titan. Needed to hit an untapped land, something to chump block the hearse, our Abrade, or something like ill-timed explosion, so we can actually take care of these mites and buy ourselves at least another turn of advancing our own game plan.
It's definitely still a scary spot because anything that can crew that hearse now, it spells out bad news bears for Zoe.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely a very precarious position to be in if you're Zoe, but also right now I think she's just saying thank you that I get to live one more turn.
And so close for DirtNymph, drawing the Restless Cottage, but no spelunking on DirtNymph's side this time around. So
yeah, unfortunate. I mean, this is a really tricky position. That Titan's going to come down. It itself is going to be hard to kill. It's probably also making a Rhino. Zoe's going to have multiple blockers and still has this World Soul Rage. I mean, things are really turning around for Zoe. DirtNymph could definitely at any minute come around here, though.
yeah, we'll see. Titan probably ready to blow up that hearse. We'll see.
Yeah, there we go.
Like you said, no more unlicensed hearse. It's going to eat a little something, little snack from the graveyard first. Titan of Industry also going to make a 4/4 here. And just like that, board presence has swapped. And Zoe looks like she might be pulling ahead.
Ooh, hitting this pocket of lands is really tough for DirtNymph here. I mean, we've got the mites, of course. We have the cottage, but not really able to do anything with those into the 7/7 body. This is one of those spots where we wish we had some of that removal, but again, like trying to hit that very perfect balance of threats versus answers. And I mean, things looking really good for Zoe right about now.
Yes, DirtNymph's taking a second, kind of analyzing, see what can be done, and definitely in between a rock and a hard place here. These Phyrexian mites, a little 1/1. I mean, Titan of Industry is trampled, but it can't even block. So
yeah, and I mean, at this point, Zoe basically has 2 turns because we have this virtue that is face up. We know about it. Once that comes down, I think it's 25 damage exactly right now is what Zoe is able to put out next turn with a World Soul Rage.
that's a lot.
Oh.
Well, being able to duress. Let's see the top 4.
Wow.
That's a whiff of a memory deluge.
That is a whiff of a memory deluge. Yeah, DirtNymph has to be so happy right now to have been able to get rid of that.
This Restless Cottage is just gonna get in. Just has to eat that memory deluge out of the graveyard. Can't let Zoe look at that many cards. And if Restless Cottage is getting in, the mites are going to get in too. This says, at least 1 damage will get across.
Yeah, we get a point of damage, and this does have like some clock significance if it got a Shieldred, for example. Having the opponent be at 6 is better than having them be at 7. Of course, we're just going to gain that life right back with these lands, but the chip damage could certainly matter. And now you've got the food, which might be relevant at some point.
And we'll see. This is an attack for 11. So DirtNymph jumps down to 13, back up to 16 off of that food. And Gisa the Hellraiser. An interesting draw here. We have not seen her yet this match.
Yeah, Giza, very, very interesting card. If you're unfamiliar with her, she's new from OTJ. She's got Ward 2, and you have to pay 2 life. It's a give skeletons and zombies +1/+1 and menace. And then whenever you commit a crime, you make 2/2/2 blue-black zombie rogue creature tokens once per turn. So, DirtNymph's deck is very all in on this crime thing. Right now, she doesn't actually have a lot of ways to commit crimes, which is a little unfortunate. But if she gets any, those zombies can actually like run away with this game.
Now, is a Field of Ruin. I believe she has a Field of Ruin in play as well as a Demolition Field. Those would be crimes?
They would be crimes. We need Zoe to play some of the sacrifice lands. So in response, we can target them. But, Zoe knows that Geese is on the board.
So he's like, you're not going to get me here.
Yeah. And unfortunately, none of these creatures get hit by cut down, so that's not a crime either.
No.
Killing your own might actually not a crime.
We'll see. DirtNymph has to block here. This is an attack for lethal, being at 9, an attack for 11. We'll see. The cut down going to leave hand.
Yeah, it looks like maybe just seeing if she was allowed to make an illegal target or something. But no.
Nope. No such luck. Cowardly Courtyard. Going to Field of Ruin that one. So Zoe will grab a forest from deck.
Yeah. Get the forest. We'll get the Nissa triggers. I'm not going to do a lot for us this turn, but I mean, this would be such a different looking game if we would have had a way to commit some crimes there.
Yes. We see a duress.
So even if we had drawn the duress instead of the cut down last turn.
Yeah, we see Duress taking just a little look to say, hey, you know what? I'm curious. What do you got in your hand? Revealing a Broker's Hideout and a Riveteer's Overlook on Zoe's side. So DirtNymph with just a cut down in hand, gonna get in with the 2 little mites that cannot block. Zoe's got 2 lethal attackers on board, and I think that's going to do it for this one.
Yeah, there's simply nothing DirtNymph can do. I mean, even Zoe hitting that pocket of lands, that Titan just changed everything about the shape of this game.
It certainly did. And it looks like Titan of Industry is going to cross the finish line after DirtNymph makes sure to cut down their own might. They weren't
Again, not a crime, not illegal.
Not a
Totally
crime.
allowed to do.
Can totally do that. She said, I'm going to do that. So, but good games to both of our players. But Zoe's going to take that one down 2-1. Temur Analyst over the Golgari mid-range deck. But quite a matchup there.
Yeah, great games to both players. Congratulations, Zoe. I mean, she was so close to getting beat out in that game 3 and just, being able to stabilize, get that Titan down, and reclaim the game was very impressive and cool to watch.
Yes, it was definitely very well played on both sides. And I'm ready for our next matchup here. This one is it's going to be something. Boros Convoke. Violet out of Division 7 at 3-2, playing what I feel like is like the favorite aggro deck in Standard right now. And I know that Gruul aggro has been doing well lately, and there's always mono red aggro is just always around. But for some, I just feel like Boros Convoke is a lot of people's aggro deck of choice. It has the removal. It can go Knight Errant of Eos is a mainstay, a centerpiece of this deck, if you will, and obviously Imidane's Recruiter, the bane of every sweeper in Standard. So, what are your thoughts on this list?
Yeah, I mean, Boros Convoke is so strong. Like, you really cannot oversell the power of this deck. It is basically a pioneer deck that put on a trench coat and some glasses and snuck its way into Standard. It is very, very, very strong. If it gets what I call its pioneer turn, which, turn 2, it's got 5 creatures and a Knight Errant of Eos on board, it's hard for almost any deck in the format to combat that. You're probably just losing that game. That being said, the deck more often than anything can lose just to itself. It is very bad when the draws don't come together in good ways. And if people are able to stabilize and sort of get over you, that can be really tough.
Yeah, explosive, if nothing else. And let's take a look at Violet's opponent this week is Soph, and they are on mono red aggro. So we just got a shoot 'em out here, pew pew. Both sides just gonna be going at it. Slick Shot Show Off, one of the most talked about cards out of Outlaws of Thunder Junction. What are your thoughts on mono red aggro? I don't know if this is a mono red aggro reawakening with the show off, because I feel like it was already a deck, people playing like Feldon and cards like that, and we see Slick Shot Show Off was like, move over Feldon, I got this. So what are your thoughts on the more prowessy looking mono red?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is unbelievably powerful. Monstrous Rage on a prowess creature, especially if it's a Slick Shot Show Off, which isn't, strictly prowess, but is kind of slightly better prowess. Extremely, extremely backbreaking for almost anyone to deal with. And they can produce so much damage out of nowhere. You pass the turn, you're at 14 life, and they have no creatures on board. You're like, oh, okay, I'm safe. No, you're not. No, you're not. They can very easily deal 14 damage to you. They can very easily destroy you in a single turn out of nowhere if you're not prepared for it. I think the Gruul version that we saw at the RC, it's trading some of the direct damage for more protection and more ways to get through the deck. But this mono red aggro list, I mean, it's been really good in standard for a long time. It can just win games when people aren't expecting it. Like if you don't draw right against them, any 7 they get, they can pretty much keep. Like any combination of spells and a couple lands, they're just like, oh, okay, yeah, I can deal 20 damage in 3 turns with this. It's crazy.
And we're about to see these two decks in action against each other. Once again, we have Violet on Boros Convoke and Soph on Mono Red Aggro. Looking forward to seeing these two decks battle it out at a Division 7. Violet is going to be on the bottom of the screen. That is our Boros Convoke player. And Soph is on the top. They are our Mono Red player. We'll take a look. One land hand, the bane of every aggro player's existence. We see that one ship back. Do you think there is ever a world where a Boros Convoke player keeps a one land hand and it's a correct keep?
I think you definitely can if the circumstances are, are right. Like I think there's just some times where you're just like, all right, well, if I hit a land by turn 2, I simply win the game. And I think a lot of times you're pretty incentivized to take that offer. I will tell you one thing about this match, Nicole. Phoebe is definitely not going to have to speed it up.
Oh,
I
no.
think this is going to be a blink and you miss it. These are two decks that kill fast.
Right. Phoebe was probably
No. If anything, can we see it at half speed, Phoebe?
right. Slow it down. There's already a slick shot show off, and it's a 2-3, and Violet's at 15, and is going to be attacking here for going to be tapping down here. Tapping that Warden, going to take a look at the top of the deck. Lethal Demolition going to the bottom. And one of the things I do want to talk about with this Boros Convoke list, I see a War Leader's Call, a card that I've seen face out of a lot of Boros Convoke decks. There are some, believers and some haters on this. What are your thoughts? Oh my gosh.
Oh, geez.
See, I can't even talk about the decks. That was turn 3.
Is that almost exactly what I said like 2 seconds ago? She was at 15 life. I think I said 14, but I was like, you pass at 15 life and you think you're safe? No,
right.
You are not.
We can't riff here. I have to just I can't. I do want to know about this War Leader's Call as we move to sideboarding, though.
Yeah. So War Leader's Call, obviously very powerful card. Obviously advances your game plan in a lot of ways. One, it directly damages your opponent. It also pumps up all your creatures. It seems like an absolute win, easy include for Boros Convoke. Problem is it costs 3 mana. It's often, kind of tricky to play a card that, like, when you play it, kind of doesn't really do anything. Like, it is low immediate impact if you don't have something to follow it up with. I think it's like a tricky card to have in the list. I would not be too surprised if we saw it get boarded out here. It might feel a little slow against something as aggressive as mono red, but you might also be inclined to keep it in just to make sure your creatures are beefy enough that you can simply trade with mono red. Steel Seraph is a really interesting inclusion here. I really like it. It's, could easily be the decider of a matchup like this.
Yeah, love to see it. We saw Violet move out a lot of her X1s as they are not very good at blockers against cards like Slickshot Show Off or Monastery Spear. And gonna take a longer look at this opener, which is 2 lands, but one of them being Cavern of Souls. Does that change things?
It makes it, yeah, I think definitely a mulligan is smart there. You'd be able to play your Epicure, but then you're not guaranteed you're going to be able to follow it up with your Gleeful. This is one of the biggest problems of the Convoke list is the mana base is a nightmare. It is not very good. I mean, even with the fast lands, like, it definitely got better, but it's the toughest part of the deck for sure.
All right, we see land number 2 coming down. That frontliner getting in for 1. Both players at 19. Like you said, don't blink. We don't want to miss this match. Double Monastery Sphere draw from Soph's side and a Kumano. Oh my goodness. That is quite a start from our mono red player for the second game in a row.
Yeah, I think Violet would have much rather have seen something like a Monstrous Rage come down, where in response she can simply kill the creature that is being targeted here. But you still have to take one of those creatures out. You have to reduce the damage.
I mean, I love Violet staying aggressive here, though, getting in with that Imidane's Recruiter, pumping it up with the frontliner and everything. So Soph is down to 13. Violet's at 16. But we saw how quickly these life totals can change in game number 1. Okay, maps from the Get Lost. The first one's going to reveal a land. That will go to hand. We see Phoenix Chick coming on down, +1/+1 counter on that one. Play with Fire going face. So Violet down to 12 and a third copy of Imidane's Recruiter here. Gonna hasten and get in once again.
I think if you're Violet, you took a big sigh of relief as soon as you saw Soph crack that map token. Because that really tells you some things, right? That tells you they don't have, like Slick Shot, Show Off, Monstrous Rage in their hand, or else they simply would have played those cards and beat me down with them and probably like nearly killed me, if not fully killed me. This means there's probably just not as explosive of a hand as we saw in game 1. So maybe you have enough time to get your cards played, put on enough aggression that maybe you actually get out of this game with a win.
Yeah, we see 3 cards in hand left for Soph, and then Violet with 2 cards in hand, and Shivan Devis. Oh, that's some card. 3/3 flyer, definitely hard to block. Case of the Gateway Express would take care of it. A second Imidane's Recruiter is not lethal here, is it?
No, especially not with that etching left up as a blocker, making things very difficult. Without the Imidate or without the etching, I think it actually would be lethal because we'd be swinging for a 2 and a 3, which is 5, and then the additional Imidanes, which is an extra 2. So actually very heads up play from Soph there. Stopped the third Imidanes being lethal. And now Violet is left in a very awkward position.
Yeah, Violet needs to decide what to do here. And those flyers are no joke, a 3 and a 2/2. But it looks like going to decide to get in here after attacking. Oh, no attacks. So this would be just Violet taking 5 in the air and hoping for no other spells, but it looks like Soph has all of the spells, as another Swift Spear and a Lightning Strike is going to come down. And wow, Lightning Strike, lightning fast, a good games to both of our players. That has to be a record. So
yeah, absolutely. That was so quick. I mean, we knew it was going to go fast. These are 2 aggressive decks. Congratulations to Soph. Very well played by them and also by Violet. I mean, that is a very tough match to navigate. I mean, honestly, decks like this, people often like to joke that like, oh, all you have to do is count to 20. All you have to do is turn your creatures sideways. It is so much more nuanced than that. It is so much more difficult than that. Your card quality is so low. Like each one of your cards is honestly on its own so bad that like every single card you play, every single decision you make matters so much more. Domain Ramp, when you get to the late game, you draw an Atraxa. That's always incredible. Right? If you get to the mid game and you draw a Monastery Swift Spear, like that's probably not closing your game out. That's not turning the tide. You have to make very critical decisions like we saw Soph make, leaving up that etching as a defender, saving their life in that game.
Right.
So
it's like
very well played.
Resolute reinforcements. I'm playing a 1/1 that makes a 1/1.
Yeah.
Turn 9, go.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yes, definitely well played by both of our players. Good games to both Violet and Soph for taking it down. And I'm So I feel like I blinked. I'm like, I need to get into the next match now. I feel like that one's not done yet. But
Yeah.
we're gonna just jump right into another pretty fast aggressive deck with Bant Toxic. Piper brought this deck out of Division 10 at 3-2, and we saw sort of a revitalization of Bant Toxic when people thought that Domain was going to be the deck to beat once again in Standard. What are your thoughts about this list? What do you see here? Anything jump out to you in particular?
Yeah, I mean, you see a couple different versions of Toxic when you see the Toxic list. This one is the one that has the Rot Priest package, which personally I think is really good. It is a way to just kind of like scam games. All of a sudden, instantly put your opponent to 10 poison and simply win. I think the list is good, but I think more important than the list here, I think what their opponent is playing is really the most important factor in this particular matchup. With this domain ramp list that they're up against, I mean, Toxic was like designed to beat domain ramp, you know, and as someone who played a ton of domain in the standard RCQ season, it felt essentially impossible to beat. Like, it gets under you so fast, your life gain doesn't matter. I have a feeling we're going to see another quick one, Nicole.
We may be in for that as we check out Piper's opponent here, SolidShepard, and she is on, like you said, domain ramp. And Bant Toxic definitely one of the decks that absolutely dominates. It tends to dominate domain ramp to the point where I saw a lot of these domain decks playing main deck temporary lockdowns and things like that. Do you have any thoughts on this list and its preparedness to play against a deck like Bant Toxic? I see you vanquish the Horde in the main. We see no witnesses, a single to populate in Sunfall. So kind of diversifying sweepers is an interesting thing. But is there anything else that pops out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I love the modern domain lists that include a single Imidane's recruiter. I think that is like such a great addition. I wish I would have been doing it at the time that I was playing domain. That is a way that domain gets to steal games, is, you know, you just play it alongside an Atraxa, play it alongside a herd migration, and just swing for an insane amount of damage. That being said, you know, we've got all these board wipes. They're all probably too slow for Toxic. But even if you have the temporary lockdowns, Nicole, like, even that's very tricky, you know, because they know the lockdowns are there. They're very good at just like playing a couple Toxic threats, or, you know, getting a, you know, Skrelv's Hive down or something. And, you know, just you play it and you wipe their board, which is great, but now you're already at like 4 or 5 poison. And it's just really hard to come back from. Like, this matchup is so incredibly difficult from the domain side. I'm very excited to see how SolidShepard here navigates it, because she's definitely got her work cut out for her.
Yeah, and we're going to take a look at this matchup right now. We have Pipermaru on Bant Toxic, and she will be our player on the bottom here, and SolidShepard on Domain Ramp on the top. These two battling in Division 10 here in week number 6, and a real nice low curve has but it looks like blue white here, as we know that, you know, the venerated rot priest, one of the only green cards in the deck for Bant Toxic, but probably couldn't ask for a much better hand out of Piper.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really, for Piper, the question is like, what do? You know, like, your options are so plentiful and so good. Do you go turn to Skrelv's Hive? Do you go turn to Jawbone Duelist? You know, it is incredible the amount of poison you can put on somebody when you go Skrelv onto a Jawbone Duelist. Like, it is unreal.
Yeah, we see a herd migration going to be discarded to grab a basic. We'll see an island go into the hand of SolidShepard here. Going to gain 3 life, but that doesn't do anything about the poison counters that she has already accumulated. And Skrell's Hive getting to work. So making that first Might token, Skrell Defector Might going to get in for another point of damage and another poison counter. Crawling Chorus going to be the follow-up, and looking like she wants to leave up a Bring the Ending or a Spell Pierce.
Yeah, I think this is pretty good. Like, you've already got the Skrell's Hive down. You're already building a board just passively. Shutting SolidShepard out of ever being able to establish anything, do anything, wipe your board. 4 mana is a very important turn for board wipes. I think that was very wise, and I think doing it again is also very wise. Like, this is the Sunfall turn. This is a pivotal moment, and Bring the Ending is now just counterspell.
Yeah, so we see Bring the Ending taking care of that one of Vanquish the Horde, and with Serums there in hand, that's just going to do it. That was, like you said, a really quick game number 1 there. And looking at sideboards, we see Charge of the Mice coming out real quick. Fading Hope is going to be quick to follow, as Fading Hope neither proliferates and doesn't really do much to a domain player. And Negates will come in, as will Extra Bring the Ending. Any ideas on sideboarding here against Domain Ramp?
Yeah, I think this is pretty smart. I mean, we saw kind of exactly how this wants to go down. Like, establish a couple threats and then just hold up your counter spells for the board wipe turns. That's what makes this like so difficult from the domain side, is it's just really hard to answer. Like, they're so quick at establishing their threats that they're allowed to just sit there. And I mean, this is again an absolutely perfect hand for it.
Yeah, we see SolidShepard starting us off here, the tap land, and Piper starting off with a 1-drop with Toxic 1 that does recur. So it's definitely, it's 2 sides of a coin here. Up the beanstalk going to come down for SolidShepard, and Piper is ready to get into that red zone. Has some counter magic in Disdainful Stroke and Bring the Ending. Seed Core also has been quite good in these toxic decks. Cards like Seed Core and Mirix have really helped Bant Toxic sort of kind of do its thing. How important are these specialty lands in these toxic lists?
Yeah, I think they're very important. I mean, your deck is so low to the ground that I think you kind of resent the fact that you have to play lands at all. Like, I'm sure you would love to just be like, all my things cost 0, but you must include lands. So making sure that they remain impactful when, again, like, kind of like what I was saying about mono red, like, your overall card quality is very low. Like, it matters a lot when it is all together, but on its own, not actually like that powerful or effective. So if you can maximize that effectiveness by giving your land something to do, that's really great.
We see no attack from Piper here into the Stomper. Temporary Lockdown going to be the follow-up. Stomper not being able to attack or block quite yet. I'm sure SolidShepard hoping to get to that point quickly.
Yeah, I definitely wonder if Piper meant to attack with the chorus there, maybe just forgot about the not being able to block from the Stomper. But this is about as good as SolidShepard could possibly want things to be going.
Right. We see the Seed Core coming down here. Now it's turn 5, and SolidShepard only at 1 toxic, 1 poison. So that's exactly where SolidShepard wants this game, wants to keep this game, as Piper has nothing proactive here. Just Bring the Endings and double Disdainful Stroke in hand. As we see up the beanstalk coming down, SolidShepard with 5 cards in hand, and that up the beanstalk maybe helping to draw a little more action.
Yeah, and SolidShepard is just so in the driver's seat of this game right now. I mean, Piper has only really been able to draw lands and counter spells that are just all becoming less and less important and effective as time goes on. Oof. Speaking of
counter spell, yes, spell pierce coming down, and Piper sees the writing on the wall. Says, once domain gets to the 7, 8, 9 lands, Piper's going to have trouble winning.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, Domain's card quality is so high that everything Shepard is drawing is just, a devastating card. And she gets to play every single one of them because she's played a land every single turn. Yes. Some turns, more than one land.
Now we see it. Charge of the Mites thought about coming in, gonna leave it out, thinking about some Serum Snares, but looks like mostly the same for Pipermaru, and this is an opening hand for sure. That venerated Rot Priest finally decides to show up here in game number 3. One of probably the most powerful cards in this Bant Toxic deck.
Yeah, it is ridiculous how strong it is. Really good to get down early. To follow it with the Skrelv's Hive, that was a huge draw for Piper. This is a difficult thing for Shepard to answer.
Yes, and the question is the Leyline Binding. It looks like SolidShepard decides it has to go on the Skrelv's Hive. So this venerated Rot Priest is going to be allowed to run free here, and keeping up that March of Swirling Mist to protect it is a big deal.
Yeah, this tells me, if I'm Piper, that Shepard probably doesn't have a lockdown, or at least doesn't feel like she's going to have the chance to play a lockdown. Maybe doesn't have the mana to play a lockdown. Because I think otherwise you probably would have wanted to take the Rot Priest out and then just follow it up with lockdown and deal with everything. But, getting the Hive off is definitely going to buy Shepard some time, which very critical.
Yes, and we'll see. Getting that Crawling Chorus down, having that March of Swirling Mist up, and SolidShepard is now corrupted, has the 3 poison counters. So the C core is turned on, as is Bring the Ending and other various cards in the Bant Toxic deck. And SolidShepard, you can see, is taking a second here with a grip of 6 cards and deciding what to do next. As you pointed out earlier, SolidShepard does not have a second white at the moment, playing a second white source tapped here, so isn't able to do anything. And there is Bring the Ending.
Yeah, and this to me would read as even more evidence that Shepard probably doesn't have lockdown in hand, because if she did, she probably would have wanted to prioritize getting the 2 white pips down sooner. I mean, maybe she just drew the land that turn, but I would be feeling pretty comfortable that I'm not playing into a lockdown.
We see Archangel of Wrath here coming down uncounterable and going to attempt to shock that Rot Priest, but Piper has left up the March of Swirling Mists, and it looks like that's what's going to happen here, and going to phase out X equals 3, going to pick all of the creatures.
Yeah, this is such a cool line from Piper. She could have countered that Archangel, but knew that Shepard was likely to target the Rot Priest, which just puts a poison counter on her, and knows that she can protect the Rot Priest anyway. Just puts her in a position where now any card she draws that proliferates wins the game. Even just like the Skrelv's Hive creatures win the game. You're countering this ley line, just shutting Shepard out of the game entirely.
Yeah, that Bring the Ending sure did bring the ending of this match, and we see Bant Toxic going to take that one down. Domain Ramp did steal game number 2 there, but Piper ultimately going to take that match down 2-1 out of Division 10. Good games to both of our players, both SolidShepard and Piper, for games well played. That was excellent, but we can see why Bant Toxic was played so much to prey on these Domain decks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really cannot overstate how impossible the matchup feels from the Domain side. I think it is like a huge sign of Shepard's skill and ability in this game that she was able to steal even a single game out of this match. So kudos to her for that. Of course, congratulations to Piper for winning the whole match. That's incredible. But yeah, you can really see on display there why this matchup is so hard for Domain.
And with that, we are on to our final matchup of the evening here, week number 6 of season 12 of the VML. We're going to take a look at World Waker playing Simic cookies, Simic artifacts here. So I see some tough cookies front and center there. Agatha's Soul Cauldron, a magic card that people that are much smarter than me play, and some really awesome, just synergistic artifact cards. What do you think about the Simic artifact deck in general? It's been floating around standard for some time now.
Yeah, so the cookies deck, made and popularized by the MTG streamer Ash Lizzle. Very strong deck in standard. I mean, it is very aggressive. It has a lot of ways that it can just sneak through creatures and get a ton of damage in, even through like any kind of defenses you're able to put up. The thing Cookies is not great at is answering creature threats. It more just tries to pretty much dodge them more than anything. But with the Soul Cauldrons and the Surge engines and the cookies, like everything, like it's really easy for them to, swing in with like a 6/6 or something that you can't block, and maybe they've got like 3 of those, and the deck is just consistent, it's fast, it's aggressive, it's really strong.
I love to see it, and yes, big shout out to Ash Lizzle for like the founding this deck. It's a pretty cool deck. I do like seeing this one in action, and I'm looking forward to seeing World Waker pilot it here as we take a look at their opponent, Harper. And Harper is on Bant Toxic. So we did just see this deck in action. Are there any striking similarities or differences that you see between these two lists? Because they look pretty similar to me.
Yeah, I think they're pretty similar. I'm taking a look here. I mean, we do see in this list we've got like the Annex Centuries. Um, Other than that, we're not seeing like Charge of the Mites. It's just like a few things different here or there, but for the most part, it's Bant Toxic. We're gonna see 2 aggressive decks going at it again. I'm not sure how these 2 are going to line up to each other. Cookies is very aggressive, but it can also like kind of wear the hat of a mid-range deck. I think if you were to force me to choose right now, I would probably give an edge to Cookies in this match, but I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a very difficult match to pilot.
Yes, I agree. I'm very curious because I know that the creatures from the cookie side are going to be a little bit bigger, can possibly block some of these toxic creatures. But it'll be very interesting, like you said earlier. Like the removal in these decks is limited, so so it's just going to be going at each other. We'll see which one of these players will take it down. Once again, we have World Waker. They are on the Simic Artifacts deck, and we have Harper playing Bant Toxic here in our final feature match in week number 6 at the VML. World Waker, your Simic Artifacts player, is on the bottom, and we have Harper on Bant Toxic on the top of your screen. And oh, I like this. World Waker keeping the one land. I just absolutely love this. Spyglass Siren, Ginger Brute, Teething Wormlet. You got this, World Waker. So.
Yeah, your hand is full of plays, and you get the Wormlet, you get the Siren down, like you got a lot of stuff you can do, and ways to find mana. Now, how many turns in a row can you really like make it through that? Who knows? But
yeah,
we'll see, as we are gonna miss a second land drop.
Teething Wormlet gonna come on down. That Venerated Rot Priest getting things started off for Harper. A Skrelv coming in. We see Serum Snare and March of Swirling Mist in the hand of Harper. And March of Swirling Mist, always a scary card when Venerated Rot Priest is on the battlefield. And a second land draw here for World Waker. It is a Mirrex. So can make colored mana, but just for now.
Yeah, very tricky land to draw. I mean, fortunately, there are so many colorless cards in the cookie deck that, you know, the future turns where this is just colorless maybe just don't matter that much. But World Waker in a very awkward spot here with trying to figure out how to spend this other point of mana.
Yes, it definitely has some choices. Being to push the hard-hitting question out right now into open mana is a little bit scary. It's definitely a little spooky.
Yeah, I think it's something that you probably just can't afford to take a chance on. It is, they're just so likely to have some form of interaction that you're more likely just giving yourself a poison counter than anything else. I really like the attack here. I like playing out the Spyglass Siren.
We see making a map token, Teething Wormlet going to trigger and gain a life. Again, World Waker's life total probably not as important as Harper's. We're more watching those poison counters go up. So we'll see.
Yeah, now there is the pivotal 3 poison counters. We'll see how important it is to World Waker to try and prevent that. Not going to have a say in the matter, as Raw Priest will not be able to be blocked by Siren that turn.
Yeah. See what the follow-up here is for World Waker. Thinking about playing out that Ginger Brute. Also has a tough cookie. Can Ginger Brute and crack the map, maybe to find that third land? We'll see if that's where World Waker wants to start.
Yeah, I think I really like putting the map on the Ginger Brute, because if you do hit a non-land, you now have a really nice blocker for the Raw Priest. Because the Skrelv cannot give it, essentially protection from colorless, I don't think.
Yeah, and we see it. Surge Engine gonna hit the bin. A second Ginger Brute coming on down.
Mm-hmm.
That will happen. Teething Wormlet will once again trigger, this time getting the counter. Moving up to a 3-3, gaining that life. Up to 21 goes World Week. And getting in the red zone. A lot of blue cards in Harper's hand. So
Yeah, a lot of blue cards indeed. I think you're going to want to Serum Snare the 2/2 Ginger Brute, but you might also be interested in taking some of this damage off the board.
yeah, it looked like that was a consideration, but then after damage happens, Serum Snare will bounce that 2/2 Ginger Brute. So World Waker going to go up to 4 poison, and another blue card is going to be the draw for Harper. So we see a bring the ending up to 6 poison goes World Waker. An island here, so third land. Is World Waker going to be able to finish the game here?
Yeah, it's I mean, with the cards in Harper's hand, I think there's just no way. We've got marches, we've got snares. You're effectively already at 8 poison, you just don't know it yet. So I think you have to be very careful with how you attack here. I like leaving up the artifact creatures.
Yes, and we'll see. So getting in for 5 is World Waker. Harper down to 3. World Waker is at 6 poison. We'll see Tough Cookie be the follow-up. Going to trigger Wormlet once again to gain a life. We'll see. It looks like Harper has a response.
Yeah, I think you can march all of their creatures and also your Rot Priest. Yeah.
Oh, everything.
put them up to 7 poison, and then you have 2 more from the Rot Priest and the Skrelv next turn, and then you have a third with the Serum Snare, so you just win the game.
I see. All right. So we see that was definitely a very interesting and intricate game one between these two players. We'll see Bant Toxic take down game number 1. So Harper up a game on World Waker, the Simic Artifacts player. Moving to sideboards here. Quick little sideboarding happening there by World Waker. Going to take a look here at Harper's sideboard. Any thoughts?
Yeah, so we saw on the cookies side, the repulsive mutations come in. I think this is a pretty good addition. I mean, we've seen this Bant Toxics game plan over and over where they establish a threat and then they just hold up interaction. And being able to punish that, I think, is going to or could be the decider in whether or not you win or lose a game. And then from Toxic, you just have to board like you do for most aggro decks. Some of your stuff like the Bring the Endings are going to be less impactful because again, card quality is just so low. You've still got your plethora of ways to deal with creatures. I think looks like we're making a deliberation here on whether or not to cut the Bring the Endings entirely.
I mean, I'm a Spell Pierce stan. I love Spell Pierce, so all about that.
Yeah. I do want to highlight how close that first game was with cookies being a little mana screwed most of the time.
That was very true. World Waker did keep the one land with it was one land and I believe 5 1-drops and then a 2-drop. So, it almost worked out. It almost worked out as we see a better start here. Teething Wormlet into Tough Cookie. So immediately able to start attacking here. And Tough Cookie, a much better blocker on that Venerated Rot Priest.
Yeah, absolutely. Much less of a absurd start from Harper, and World Waker being able to actually play lands and resolve spells, also huge. Kite Sail cannot be spell pierced, but you can march the Rot Priest in response if you want to get rid of a card.
And I love this. I love seeing the Kite Sail Larcenist also treasurify the food. So to me, that's awesome, having that ability to follow up with playing something else off to saying, I don't want a food anymore. I want this to be a treasure now.
Yeah, very cool secondary part of this ability.
We will see the March of Swirling Mist be cashed in, but at a cost, as Harper needed to exile some cards from hand.
Yeah, looks like we got rid of a Spell Pierce to make that happen. So definitely like a cost was paid.
Yeah, and we see Teething Wormlet and Tough Cookie both get into the red zone. So down to 13 goes Harper. A Skrelv Defector Might was the draw here. And with the 2-3 and the 1-1 on defense, there's no real good attacks for Harper. So looks like holding up Serum Snare and just saying go.
Yeah, I mean, World Waker is in such a good position here. A good wall that's hard to get through, threats in the air and on the ground. And Harper, the one getting a bit mana screwed this time.
And we see a map looking like, look like World Waker maybe want to start a map here. Has a second Kite Sail Larcenist can cast. And without the white mana, like you said, Harper can't really do too much here. Tough Cookie going to try to target that map token to make it a 4-4, but Serum Snare are going to say, nope, we're going to get rid of that. Now being tapped out, there is no way to protect this Venerated Rot Priest anymore. World Waker already past Corrupted, was already at 3 poison. So moving on to 4 and saying, you know what? I'm going to Leroy Jenkins my way into this red zone. Everybody's sideways. Everybody's invited to the party, except for you, Crawling Chorus. Where that's quite an attack. I like this aggressiveness. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you need to protect yourself, but you also have to advance your own game plan. And this puts Harper in a position where, they are very under the gun. Like, as of right now, the Fading Hope maybe buys them a turn. But if this Crawling Chorus gets eaten by the Larcenist, then you're out of blockers. Just very, very difficult to respond to.
Yeah, and it looks like, if Kitesail Larcenist results, which it looks like it will, that will get rid of Harper's only blocker, and that would be lethal for World Waker here. So we are going to get a game number 3 between these two players, between these two decks of Simic Cookies and Bant Toxic, and it looks like World Waker happy to keep the same sideboard Simic Artifacts plan going into game 3. Harper going to do a little shuffling, though.
Yeah, I am glad that we're getting a game 3, as we have seen both players get mana screwed, and I would love to see sort of how this goes down when everyone is getting to play a land every turn, or at least, the first 3 turns, which is all they really care about. I think play draw is also something that probably matters a lot in this matchup. So I think World Waker is definitely more so the person on the back foot. But again, I said at the beginning of this that I thought Cookies had the edge. So it might just be enough to balance it out. Cookies might still have the edge. I really think this is a close matchup.
Definitely a close matchup. I saw Harper eyeing those Aspirant's Ascents there from the sideboard, gives a target creature +1/+3 and gains flying and toxic 1. Probably considering that, maybe hoping that Cookies would be a little weak to flyers, even though Spyglass Siren is a thing. And we see once again Venerated Rat Priest coming down on the early turns here in this matchup. How important is that card in this matchup against the Simic Artifacts deck?
If I'm World Waker right now, I am so annoyed. I am so like, how did you have it 3 times in a row? What are you talking about? It is the most annoying creature to deal with. Now, they do have a really nice answer to it in hand in the form of Tishana's Tidebinder. Doesn't target the priest directly, which means you're not adding a poison counter. Counters the addition of a poison counter once someone does target the Rot Priest, and then shuts it off completely to where they're not getting any more of them.
And we'll see. This map is going to trigger, revealing a Surge Engine on top. Will the World Waker keep it up there? With 3 lands in hand and only 2 spells, is any spell just a keep right now?
I think it's gotta be. I mean, also, like, Surge Engine is like it's just like a good blocker against this, like it's gonna block nicely into these creatures. If you get a Skrelv down, you're not gonna be able to keep it from blocking your creatures. I think it's very reasonable to keep it on top.
And we see a World Waker do just that. Yeah, a 3/2 body, nothing to mess around with in these toxic matchups. And taking a second here to decide to attack or not. And it looks like World Waker saying, nope, right now I'm on defense. Your turn. Who is the beatdown here? World Waker has decided it is not them.
I love this from World Waker. Again, Cookies is an aggressive deck. I would probably categorize it more an aggro deck than pretty much anything else. But when you're in these like 2 aggressive deck matchups, you really have to make the right call about who is the beatdown and, who is trying to get longer into the game. And I think World Waker nailed it in their assessment that they are not the beatdown right now. They need to protect, not their life points, obviously, but their poison total. So I think not attacking there and keeping Harper from being able to attack Very, very good.
Yeah, we see Search Engine, yet another artifact colorless blocker too. So Skrull Defector Might cannot protect their friends from these artifact blockers. So 3/2 and a 2/2 kind of just stopped Harper in her tracks.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I am wondering what World Waker, I guess wanting to activate this Surge engine at end of turn is why we didn't play the Vine Stock. Totally reasonable play, I think.
Yeah, and we see that is the case. Restless Vinestock here. And Subterranean Schooner was the draw. Probably not something feeling like to put out right now, as Surge Engine gonna get in the red zone, cannot be blocked, so 3 damage will get across. Worldbreaker is still holding strong at only 1 poison. Harper is at 17 life, has a lot of interaction in hand in March of Swirling Mist, Fading Hope, so and a Spell Pierce. As we see, it looks like thinking about casting a Fading Hope here, perhaps? Oh, March of Swirling
Looks
Mist.
like we're marching, and
Oh.
this is a bold march.
Oh my.
And I mean, you can Tidebinder it, but I mean, there's already 4 triggers on the stack, so like you can get rid of one of them, take it down to 3. But I mean, you need a way to stop the Jawbone Duelist. That is the real problem.
Yeah, we see it. Thinking about this, Tidebinder, like you said, could take care of one of these triggers. That would bring World Waker only up to 4 poison as opposed to 5. The Jawbone Duelist can still be blocked by a Ginger Brute, but you're only leaving one.
Well, the Ginger Blute's getting
Oh, it's gonna take
misted,
it
isn't it?
out. Oh, it is. It is.
Yeah, so I
Oh,
think that's
oh,
the what really makes this a tricky call,
this
because
is on everything.
I think you might have to wait for the Skrelv to activate and Tidebinder that instead. Because like the Jawbone Duelist getting an additional toxic and being effectively unblockable thanks to the Skrelv means that is 4 poison you would be taking.
Yeah,
And that on its own can simply just win you the game.
yeah, that is terrifying here. We see Annex Sentry is the draw for turn. And let's see if something Harper is taking a look at something here, because these are definitely the most pivotal turns of this game. Skrelv is going to activate, and down comes Tidebinder to take care of that activation. So that will not go through. Venerated Rod Priest, not as scary when your opponent is empty-handed, I suppose.
Yeah, it's definitely less scary. I mean, this Annex Sentry being able to exile maybe the Tidebinder. I mean, we're still gonna get in for 3 poison. This game is crazy. This game is
Yes.
crazy. I can't imagine how difficult it is for both of these players to be piloting right now.
Yes, this has definitely been a very wild back and forth matchup. Game number 3 here. It could not get any more exciting. We'll see. Is Tidebinder going to trade with the Duelist?
Oh, it's not gonna be a trade because of the
Oh,
Seed Core.
oh, Seed Core.
Oh,
And
and
another
another Tidebinder. That's huge.
Restless Fiendstock is going to come on down. Fiendstock, excuse me, on the side of World Waker. Going to leave up that second copy of Tidebinder. And
But what do you Tidebind at this point?
right.
It's so difficult. You know, like none of your creatures can really block Jawbone Duelist anymore. Oh geez. What a I mean, do you just go for this again? Do you try to block the Jawbone Duelist with your artifact and then counter the Seed Core trigger when they go to get you with that again?
Oh, I kind of like that. I mean, that I believe does not become permanent though.
It would not be. It would not permanently shut off a seed core, but it would be enough to kill Jawbone Duelist this turn, which is enormous. I mean, this thing is representing lethal every single turn.
Yes. And we see Harper playing with the Annex Sentry in hand, but it's just going to move to attacks here. Will it be just the Jawbone Duelist getting in? It looks like it will be. All right.
It's going to be so huge for World Waker if they are able to counter this seed core trigger. And that is what looks like it's going to happen.
Oh, man. We see Tashana Sidebinder taking care of that seed core trigger. So Ginger Brute will be allowed to trade with that Jawbone Duelist. And I feel like we're back at parity now. Sentinel of the Nameless City, speaking of big blockers, it doesn't get much bigger than Sentinel.
Yeah, this is a great card. I mean, generates map tokens, which we can put the Zoetic glyph on later. We can play it and play the Schooner this turn, which is pretty nice.
Right. And it's green. So
and it's green, so now there's another color for Skrelv to have to deal with. So we can start actually swinging and advancing our mission again. Oh, this match is crazy, Nicole.
This has been insane. We see Spell Pierce going to be able to take care of the Schooner, leaving Harper with one card in hand once again. We'll see. She draws an Adhikar Waste here. World Waker sitting back there wondering that, that Spyglass Sirens in the air, definitely difficult for Harper to block. That's just such a tight match.
Yeah, well, and don't forget Surge Engine next turn, if World Waker wants, can become a 5/4. Now, there's a trade-off there where doing so makes Surge Engine become blue, which might be too scary of a proposition, but I don't know. I mean, dealing 5 damage that they can't block is pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, this Zoetic glyph can make that map token big. There's so many things that can happen here. Sentinel can attack with Vigilance and not have to worry about too much, but Annex Sentry is going to take care of the Sentinel for now. So we see that Harper, again, no cards in hand. And Skrelv is going to target the Venerated Rot Priest. So going to be able to get across there. Up to 8 poison goes World Waker. And we see the third Tidebinder is the draw here. That is all 3 Tidebinders this game. At 8 poison, this is a really scary place to be.
I'm gonna throw up. This is so stressful. Like how it's a single misplay could cost either player the game easily. This is an extremely precarious position to be in.
We see the map revealing a coast, so no counter here for that Surge Engine. I don't know if World Waker could afford to get in here anymore.
It's really close. I think you kind of have to.
I love this.
It's really good, but it's so stressful. It's so stressful.
We see a Botanical Sanctum. I feel like World Waker would be a lot less stressed if they saw that Harper has drawn a land for turn. So,
yeah, well, I mean, Surge Engine is lethal next turn. Harper needs to find a way to close the game out here, and she just doesn't have it.
Yeah, she's pressured into attacking, has to attack all. This has to happen. What?
There are so many cards that World Waker is terrified of right now. Serum Snare, scariest card in the game. March, scariest card in the game. We know with Caster Vision that it's just Botanical Sanctum, but if you're playing the other side of this, you are horrified.
Yes, and we see Skrelv attempting to give Annex Sentry most likely Pro Blue, but more importantly, an extra toxic. But Tashana's Tidebinder is going to come down to counter that ability. So just going to get in for the normal all one. I love this. I'm making sure that, C Core can't pump anything up. And that's going to do it. And we're going to see
Ooh.
Simic Artifacts take this one down 2-1 over our Bant Toxic. Wow, that was
incredible. That was such good and tight gameplay from both of those players. I mean, they both were just continuously doing what they absolutely had to do to win the match. And the margins there were razor thin, Nicole.
oh, they could not have been any closer, honestly.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to see that game 3, a game where players weren't being like fully mana screwed and stuff like that. I mean, the turn where we saw the March pitching the whole hand and just hitting the whole board, incredible gameplay. If it wasn't like exactly Tidebinders in hand, you're probably just always winning from there.
Right.
It's so good.
The patience from World Waker with that Tidebinder, I would have panicked and be like, "Here's my Tidebinder, counter."
Yeah, make it a little better.
So wow, that was just well played from both of our players in Division 1, and good luck to them for the rest of the season. And what I mean by rest of the season, I'm like, next week is our last round of round robin playoff before playoffs. So this was week number 6. We've got 7 rounds of round robin before we cut to our playoffs. So it's do or die time, people.
Yeah, big time. Absolutely.
So excited. A big ups again. A big thank you to Wizards of the Coast for sponsoring us here at the VML, for their support. We appreciate you. We couldn't do what we do without you. And speaking of can't do what we do without you, Nile, thank you so much for being so wonderful. Just fantastic partner. Just exquisitely charming. I adore you. I love working with you. Thank you so much. And I want to make sure we shout out at least one more time that big Birds of Paradise tournament this coming Sunday. And also make sure you're following Birds of MTG on Twitter.
Yeah, thank you, Nicole. I mean, it is always such a dream to be in the booth with you. It's so much fun. It's so exciting. I'm glad we got to cover what were some really sick games of Magic. But yeah, so this Sunday I am hosting a standard open tournament. It's a 1K, so there's $1,000 in cash on the line. It is also being sponsored by Heavy Play, so top 8 is going to get a bunch of free product from them. It's also part of a tournament series, so even if you participate and just drop out, you will earn points, which can get you into the Invitational at the end of the year, which is going to be an invite-only event. It's going to have a trophy. It's going to be a big thing. The last one we did was a lot of fun. This one's going to be great as well, I'm sure. Nicole is going to be commentating some of it. It's all going to be broadcast on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/NileJoanRivers. I'll put a link to the tournament in the chat right now. But yeah, go check it out if you're not registered already. I think it's going to be a great time.
Yes, we definitely want to support each other. We've worked very closely here at the VML with Birds of Paradise. They're a great organization run by and for some fantastic people. And it's just an honor and a pleasure to be able to work with the Birds of Paradise. I absolutely adore them. And while we're getting our thank yous, I want to say a big thank you to our casting team, all of our players for the recording and everything. We bugged them to do their little surveys, and they're all so accommodating and so wonderful. So a big thank you to them. A big thank you to our admin team and to our viewers for your support and all of your love. Make sure you all are following us here on Twitch, twitch.tv/VMLMTG, on Twitter at VMLMTG, and on YouTube also VMLMTG. So I hope to catch you there. That we put all of our past gameplays up there. A big thank you once again to Wizards for being awesome and making the VML possible. And again, my biggest thank you every week goes to our sorceress behind the scenes, Phoebe. She just makes absolute magic every single week, always makes it happen. I think she like snaps her fingers, and it's like the Q continuum in like Star Trek. Just Do you
Oh.
snap when you push the button? Oh, snap. I think it does. I think it does, but you are magical. So before we sign off, Nile, where can we find you?
Yeah, so I stream Magic sometimes at twitch.tv/NileJoanRivers. I'm on Twitter at NileJoanRivers. Basically, any website where you're like, is Nile here? You should just type in NileJoanRivers and see if I'm there.
And I only want to be places where you are, so I will make sure to do that. You can also find me on the socials at LadyOfTheCrease. And until we catch you all next week for our big week 7, the culmination of the entire round robin is happening next week right here. Be here. 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. I cannot wait. It's going to be a blast. If it's anything like it was this week, just wow. I just get wowed every single week. I hope to catch you, and we'll see you all real soon.
Bye.